You are listening to the EdTech Takeout from Grantwood AEA, an educational service agency that supports school districts in eastern Iowa with a focus on equity, excellence, and efficiency in education for all children.
Hello, this is the EdTech Takeout, the podcast that serves up bite-sized technology tips for teachers. My name is Jonathan Wiley.
And I'm Mindy Carney. Welcome to episode 10.
Ooh, yeah, episode 10.
Episode
I like
10.
It.
Yeah. Lots of accomplishments since then, and we've come a long way, learned a lot.
Yeah, we have, and I was also thinking when you said that, we learned a lot just the other day when we were playing with our 3D printer for the first time.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, the 3D printer at Grantwood we've had for a couple of years, but Mindy and I...
You've had it for a couple of years, and that's the first time you've played with it?
Yeah, that's the first time I've played with it. I haven't really had any cause or need to play with it or felt like I should play with it, but Jason Marshall, who is also on our team, does a lot of the 3D printing stuff. I think Amber does as well, and I guess the other day we just felt like we should learn how to do this.
Yeah. Well, and you made me a present, so that was fun.
Well, we had to make something, so that made sense. Yeah. What did I make you?
You made me a little I don't know, like a nameplate, I guess, that says Seesaw Ambassador, and then in parentheses underneath that it says self-proclaimed. So the 3D printing though, you were the one that used the app and stuff. What app did you use?
I think we used the MakerBot Print Shop app on the iPad to make that up, and it was actually a lot easier to make something than I thought it was, so... Very simple, very straightforward. It's a free app, and if you have MakerBot printers, you should start with that one. It's a good one.
Yeah, because you just type the words in, right? And then you could just resize it and mess with it a little bit that way, but otherwise it was pretty simplistic.
Yeah, they have some preset things that you can do. So one was text, and you can make a vase, you can make medals, you can make different things like that, and it gives you a template to start with, so... Yeah, all I did was type in the Seesaw Ambassador, parentheses self-proclaimed, adjust the height and the width of it a little bit, and that was it. We saved it to the cloud account on the MakerBot account and connected our computer to the printer, sent it over, and it printed without a hitch, which was a surprise to both of us, I think.
Yeah, because it even stopped for a minute. You left for lunch or something, and it stopped, and I'm like, oh no, because sometimes that happens where it gets off and it doesn't work anymore. And is it filament? Is that what you call it? Is it filament?
Yeah, filament.
Yeah. So the filament kind of was dripping just a little bit, and I'm like, oh, this is totally toast. And you walked in the door. The god that you are, apparently, walked in the door and it just started up again and off it went.
I'm sure that was just coincidental, but it did make me think that, we can graduate now that we've done our first one. We can move on to 3D printed duck feet.
Yes, that's a great idea. We'll keep our eyes out for something else to print. So should we get started on our top 5?
Let's get started on our top 5. Our top 5 this week is... controversially going to be part 1 of 2. So it's kind of a top 10 maybe, but we kind of split it in 2 and made it 2 top 5s just to keep with the format of the show. And we're going to look at 5 blogs that we like within the EdTech or education ecosphere. Mm-hmm. And why don't you pick one to start with, Mindy?
I will start with... Actually, I'm going to start with... I didn't realize this was the name of it, but Mindshift KQED. And I follow this blog. Actually, I just liked them on Facebook. And so I get their blog posts pretty consistently. And what I like about Mindshift is that it's not always ed tech. So it's definitely more of an education blog, but it's really more about education topics and things to be thinking about. So a lot of times they do talk about Minecraft. So that's one of the reasons I started following it. They do have a lot of blog posts about Minecraft, but just different things to think about. One of the ones I just read that actually I shared on my Facebook page myself was how parents can help students think creatively about math. just different topics that I don't think get discussed very often, but are really interesting and kind of make you think differently about things. So that's what I really like about Mindshift.
I think they've got a real good variety of different topics that they talk about. And yeah, like you said, it's things that make you go, So lots of forward-thinking kind of articles about education and the way education should be. So yeah.
That's a song, right?
Things that make me go,
Yeah. Do you know that's a song?
I did not know that's a song. Who sings that song?
Things that make you go, You know what? I don't know. I don't know who it is, but I'll look it up. It's from the 90s, I think. Maybe the 80s. I'm going to look it up. When you said it, I thought I was going to break into song. I thought, he doesn't even know that's a song, I bet.
I really did not know that was a song. Yeah.
Anyway, keep going. You choose one. Sorry.
Yeah. Something else that's not a song is Edutopia. Edutopia is a really awesome website. It's one that I find a lot of interesting things on there. They do a good mix of articles. Some of them are education based, some of them are ed tech based, some of them are just great articles for educators to read and get some ideas from. I saw a really interesting one the other day called Flexible Seating in Student-Centered Classrooms, and I was just talking about learning spaces and the different ways that people can arrange their classrooms now, different ways that you can think about seating options for students, or just making you think about not all students necessarily are going to want to be in the same type of seat all the time. So it's from the George Lucas Educational Foundation. It is a really awesome website. Is that one you've looked at all, Mindy?
Yeah, I've looked at Edutopia a lot, and I don't know that I necessarily follow the blog, but if I'm looking for something, it's always a go-to. So I don't look at it religiously, and but it is definitely a good place for resources if I'm looking for something on a specific topic. I would say my next one would be Free Tech for Teachers, which is Richard Burns' blog, and it's just got, a gazillion different things to look at. But what I like about it is that I know it's up to date always because he's constantly sharing things on his blog. Sometimes when I go and look at blogs, I'm like, oh, when was the last time they posted? That's one of the things I always look at, how current is this? But he always has lots of little tech tips and tutorials and things like that it's just a really useful site.
Yeah, Richard has been doing that site for a long time now. I remember reading that site many years ago when I was teaching in the classroom. So it is, I don't know how he manages to keep up and manages to post every single day. I subscribe to his blog in email, and I get an email from Richard Byrne every single day. So that in itself is kind of incredible that he's able to churn out content that is good and relevant to teachers on a regular basis like that.
Isn't that kind of his job, though? Isn't that what he's doing now, is just sharing his knowledge? It's not like he's actually in the classroom too, though, is he?
No, he's not in the classroom anymore, but
right.
He does more than just that blog. He'd probably say it's one of his jobs, but
yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to throw in number 4 here, which is Teach Thought, which is a really awesome website too. They are similar in some ways, I think, to KQED in terms of they're really pushing the envelope with different educational trends and ideas that are going around there. You will find all sorts of different articles that can help you grow as a teacher. They have things, I'm looking at their categories here: critical thinking, learning, teaching, and the future of learning. So you will get EdTech articles as well as educational articles. They are just pedagogical strategies, all kinds of great stuff on there. And I believe, Mindy, they also have a podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, they do. I have it on my podcast list. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but they've got a gazillion episodes. And, I always like to start at the beginning. With that one, I feel like I'm going to have to hop in. I'm never going to catch up, but it's definitely on my list of podcasts to listen to.
teachthought.com/podcast. They were at episode 45 right now, so they are 35 ahead of us, Mindy. You've got some catching up to do if you want to start at the beginning.
Yeah, right. Right. And I think the last one we have to mention is our own blog, right? The Grant Wood Digital Learning Team has a blog that we post to hopefully every week. and kind of sharing some of our experiences. Sometimes there's tech tips. Sometimes it's more about instructional strategies and conferences we go to, and just trying to share our knowledge as much as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to share in as many ways as we can. This podcast is one of the ways that we try and share the things that we do and the things that we're learning. And the blog is another way. We also share on social media and with the teachers we work with face-to-face. So, yeah, it's just another medium that we have. And yes, it would be remiss not to talk about top blogs without mentioning our top blog.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. All right, so on to our main course today, served to you piping hot, is virtual presence. And Jonathan and I just recently presented together at our Building Bridges conference, which is about assistive technology. And him and I had kind of been thinking about what about those students who don't get to come to the classroom, and what kind of environment could we create for them so that they feel like they're more part of the classroom. And we just thought some of the things that we kind of discovered and talked about might be great things to kind of share today.
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity, I think, to share some of that learning, because there's a lot of really fun stuff, I think, in what we were showing people. Should we just jump in and start with the first thing we talked about?
Yeah, sure.
So we talked about something called the Double Telepresence Robot, because we have one of these at Grant Wood AEA. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before, but you've maybe seen the episode of The Big Bang where Sheldon is not walking around, where Sheldon is transporting himself around on the face of an iPad, and the iPad is attached to a long pole, which is attached to two wheels at the bottom, and that's a double telepresence robot. And it could be an option for schools who are looking to have students join the classroom if they are not able to get to school for whatever reason.
Yeah, and the student could then remotely move the double around, and maybe instead of just feeling like they're in a stable position where they just kind of have to watch, they can control the double and drive it around the classroom. I had read this story about a little girl who had gotten cancer, and so she wasn't able to come to school because of her treatments. And she was really kind of starting to shut down because she had missed her friends. And so the family received a donation for this double, and she was able then to kind of be in the classroom and able to go out for recess with her friends. And they kind of joked about her playing tag and how she wasn't very fast, and was able to really kind of build some of those relationships with students that, if she was just getting her homework sent home every night or had a private tutor, she'd never be able to build those relationships. And so the double really kind of was her presence in the classroom, not only for her, but for the other students as well.
Yeah, it's kind of a remarkable piece of technology. It's like self-leveling. The person who is facing the double robot can talk to it, and the sound will go both ways, back and forward, kind of like a video conference, which is really kind of cool. They're not cheap, though. They're about $3,000 for the charging stand and for the double itself. But
and that does not include the iPad.
And that does not include the iPad, yeah. But I think there's a lot of occasions where this could be, just a different way to experience a classroom for those kids that really need it. Yeah. Mindy, I feel like we should also tell people our little adventure we had with the double. Do you remember?
I do remember.
When we were driving it around and practicing, and you decided to take it on a little field trip.
I did. I'm a very good driver, by the way. Are you going to mention how great I was at driving that thing?
You were excellent at driving that thing, yeah.
I was. After I got the hang of it. I did knock it over once. But then they said, I got set back up again by someone who was passing by, which was nice.
They're very durable, though, aren't they?
They are, yeah. Actually, I was really worried. You see that thing go over, you're like, oh, no, that's $3,000. I just buckled to the floor, but popped back up, and off she went.
You managed to drive it all the way into Stacy's office.
I did, and surprised her. She didn't hear me coming even. And then we watched her work for a little bit, which was kind of creepy because she didn't hear us. And so we're just like, but our sound, we didn't realize that the volume was turned way down on the iPad. So Jonathan and I are laughing hysterically, thinking it's the funniest thing, but she can't hear us laughing at her even. And so finally I ran it into her desk and she looked up and was scared. Like,
she did get quite the fright, I think.
Oh,
sorry,
so
Stacey.
Non-educational use for the double is to scare your friends. Super fun.
Correct. All right. So what else did we do?
Well, we felt like the double was pretty expensive and might not be something that schools could afford. So we started thinking about, well, what are some other things that teachers and students could do, hopefully to get get that same relationship bond. And so we started looking at some of our other video conferencing tools. And we talked about Skype, which is great because you don't actually have to have a Skype account anymore. Have we shared this already? I don't know if we've shared this during one of the podcasts, but you don't have to have an account for Skype. You can just share the link.
I feel like it was one of my tech nuggets on
maybe
episode 1 or 2 or something way back.
Oh,
then.
yeah. So that's kind of nice because it's for all devices because you can, just share the link. And Zoom is like that too. So we use Zoom here at the agency. And I don't know if that's one that people use a lot or not. I hadn't heard of it until I started working here. So those two work great for any device.
And if you're a school that uses Apple devices, FaceTime is a great option for connecting. So if your students are one-to-one with iPads or Macs or anything like that, that would be a great option to have because you've already got the devices and the technology and the software already built in. Google Hangouts is a good option for Google-based schools as well. And like Skype, Google Hangouts actually, you can join with a Google account now. You can just join with a link. So that's a great option to have on there too.
Yeah, how new is that feature? Is it fairly new?
I don't exactly know how new it was, but somebody told me recently at the Iowa One-to-One conference, and I was like, I didn't know that. And
I didn't know that either. That was new to me for sure. But the great thing about these video conferencing tools is that, it allows 2 or more locations. So it doesn't just have to be 2 people. Well, FaceTime can only be 2 people, right? I don't think you can FaceTime with more than 2 people. Right?
I have no idea, Mindy.
I don't think you can. But maybe we should try it sometime and see. But with Skype and Google Hangouts and Zoom, all 3 of those can be more than 2 people or 2 locations. Sharing in a conversation, video and audio together. So yeah, another way to kind of get that same double sort of opportunity or experience, but without the expense of the $3,000. You're just not mobile.
Yeah, and the only real problem that we encounter when using video conferencing to bring students into the classroom is usually in terms of the audio. If the teacher is mobile and walking around the classroom and talking to different students, it can be hard for the computer at the front of the room with the camera on it to pick up their voice levels. So one of the options we came across that would help with that, and with a number of other things, was this thing called the Swivel. And you're kind of a fan of the Swivel, Mindy, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of the Swivel. I think the Swivel is awesome. So the cool thing about the Swivel is that it comes with this little robotic holder where you put your mobile device on top of the robotic holder. And then it also has a marker that's what they call it, as a marker. But it's like a remote, kind of, wouldn't you say? I don't know.
Yeah.
When they call it a marker, it's not a very good describer, but and then you wear that on a lanyard around your neck. And so what happens is the robotic holder for your device follows you as you move. It tracks the marker that's around your neck. And the nice thing about the marker too is that it also has a microphone. So the microphone also, helps with the audio, because sometimes the audio can be terrible. And especially for students who are trying to listen to you, but there's lots of background noise going on in a classroom too.
Yeah, it's basically a Bluetooth microphone that you have around your neck, and because it's right up here next to where you're talking, that it picks up all the audio and conversations that you have if you're walking at different parts of the room or teaching from a distance.
Right. So if you run another video conferencing app on top of using the swivel, the students then can still hear your voice and it tracks you instead of them being stationary. Then at least their view of you remains the same as you might move around the classroom. And even if they're in small groups or something like that, you could have set them with a swivel in a small group and they could still engage in a conversation too.
Yeah, it's a really neat device. They start, I believe, at $399.
Yeah, and they just came out with didn't they just come out with a newer version that's closer to $500, I think.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm not doubting that it exists because if anyone would have got the email, it would have been you, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think we mentioned, though, that you can record it, too. So it's also great for a little bit of flip to learning even. So if you're looking for just something different outside the virtual presence that we're kind of talking about right now, that you could use it to record your lessons. And you can it's got like an iCloud account and stuff like that, too, that you can use. So yeah, that's a really cool tool. Kind of, a little bit pricey too, but lots of uses for it for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a nice segue into the next one when you're talking about recording your lessons, because we also showed some screencasting tools as part of this presentation, a way to record yourself demonstrating something on your device. So we had different options for different devices. We looked at things like Snagit for Chrome, Screencastify. Those are great for Mac, PC, or Chromebooks. Screencast-O-Matic is a really nice one for Mac and PC. Jing works on Mac and PC. Mindy's favorite, QuickTime, works on the Mac. And we looked at some iPad screencasting ones, basically the kind of whiteboard type of options. Just some really nice options for creating a lesson that you could share, not necessarily just with one student, but with all your students if you wanted, and have that virtual classroom presence online in a video.
Yeah. Which one of those is your favorite?
Of all the ones that I listed on there, I don't like to play favorites. When I go to do a screencast, I'm going to admit that the one I normally use is Camtasia. And
not everybody has Camtasia, though. That one's kind of tough. Yeah.
If I didn't have Camtasia, I'd probably use Screencast-O-Matic because it's pretty nice. It does a nice job at what it does and lets you record, I think, up to 15 minutes for free. So, yeah, lots of good sharing options with it, too. I like Screencast-O-Matic.
Yeah, didn't you just send me something about a new one that Richard Byrne had put out? What was that one called? Nimbus, right?
Nimbus Screenshot and Screencast, yes.
Yeah,
Nimbus.
And I haven't checked that one out yet, but it's a Chrome extension. Is it just a Chrome extension, or is there more to it somewhere?
It's a Chrome extension.
Yeah, so I'm going to try that one out too. I think that one has like some tools and stuff, like highlighters and stuff like that that I'd like to try out. So add that one to our list too.
It's a nice one. I only tried it very quickly with one short screencast, but good quality, very easy controls. So, yeah, if you haven't checked out Nimbus Screencast and Screenshot, you certainly should. I almost made it my tech nugget for today, Mindy, but...
oh, you did?
I went with something else, so...
Oh, all right. Well, I'm glad we still got it out there then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and screencasting is kind of nice, especially for those kids that... might not be able to be engaged in a lesson at the time that it's actually going on, or even for a teacher to be able to give instructions. And I think we've talked a little bit about screencasting previously. All right. So one of the other things we were kind of thinking about was ways to get students engaged in conversation, and either with the teacher or with other students. And so we kind of start talking about back channel chats.
Yeah, and we looked at a couple of tools, or we had a couple of tools on there. One I'm more familiar with than the other, but we looked at Today's Meet and Chatzy. Todaysmeet.com is one that's been around for a long time now, but it's a great way to create like a virtual room where you can have a conversation with the students, or it could just be a virtual room just for those students that couldn't make it to your classroom for whatever reason on that day. And the rooms themselves you can have open for an hour, 2 hours, 8 hours a day, a week, or a month. So you can have it just as a very restricted short conversation if you want, or if you want to keep it open for a longer period of time, that's something you can do too. You just pick a name for your room and you get a very nice, easy URL to share with students, and everybody just joins in, puts their name in, and can share their thoughts inside this back channel tool.
Yeah, and another one that I shared that day, because I believe strongly in trying to use as many free tools as possible, is Chatsy, and that's Z-Y. And the reason I kind of like this one is because it's pretty simplistic. If you remember way back in the day, like this was when I was in high school, but when chat rooms first kind of, popped up on the internet, it's very much like that, where it's just a conversation and you put your name in and it just goes back and forth between people. What's nice about it is that it has a URL that you can share, but you can also share it directly through Chatsy as an email, which is kind of nice too. So you can invite who you'd like to be part of that conversation. And I always really liked back channel chats in my classroom because it was a great way for kids to communicate with me and with one another without having to raise their hand, to wait, their turn to talk. And also because I had students who sometimes weren't very comfortable raising their hand or sharing in front of the whole class, but they could still share their ideas with the class without actually having to speak out. And it's always nice for them, I think, to read what's, the train of thought of some other students to help them gather their thoughts. So I always thought this was really great for any classroom, just, at any time to be used. So.
Yeah, so you and I were both elementary teachers, and the point I'm going to raise here is probably not something that we encounter too much because we taught elementary kids, but there is the possibility that kids would use this semi-anonymous chat site to throw in comments that were less than appropriate. So I don't know, any tips or ideas on that, Mindy?
One of the things that I always did is that either I kept it open only during the school day. So right. I set it up so that it closed down, after my school day was over. I did use it when I was using Edmodo. I'd put a link in and the kids would share on it during the week. I would just say that if you're having kids do that, you have to be on it yourself and let your presence be known that you're on it and you're checking it. So I would often reply back during the nighttime hours and say, oh, yeah, that's great. And make sure the kids saw me using it as well, or mentioning it the next day. Like, hey, I saw last night you did this. And, so that's something I can, and it's not like you can just search and find those links either. So it's not like outsiders are coming in. It's mostly just your students that you have to worry about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at the Today's Meet one now, and you can use it without an account. That's free and everything. You can get in there. But if you create an account, one of the things you can do is moderate the content. So it says you can keep rooms focused by getting rid of all off-topic or inappropriate messages. So
yeah, and you can silence students, I think, can't you?
Yeah, I think so. So
yeah,
that'd be a nice option to have. And if you do have any students that stray from what's acceptable in your classroom and what's not.
Take a little time out.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so completely different in some ways, but related in other ways is the next thing that we looked at, which was virtual field trips. And the ability this time to give your students an insight into the world outside of their classroom. And there's a number of great services that will help you get engaged in virtual field trips. Things like Skype Education, they have Skype virtual field trips, and Discovery Ed also have some great virtual field trips too. And these are things that you can really introduce your whole class to. And we're talking about this virtual classroom or this virtual presence here. You can send your students to other parts of the world with the magic of video conferencing, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, what I really think is great about virtual field trips is that it gives students the opportunity to see things that they wouldn't normally see. And also, talking with experts that they wouldn't normally come across. And so I was looking at the Skype virtual field trips a little bit. And what I think is neat is that you can go through and find, search by grade level. You can search by topic. And then they give you a little calendar that you can choose from, when those people are available. And I looked a little bit at how you can become a host, and they request that you're available 2 times a week. So to me, that just says that those people are available a lot. There's a good opportunity for you that you are going to connect with someone on a virtual field trip that you really think is important that your students be involved in.
Yeah, there's a great video that Skype put together, and we can share it in the show notes, but it's about some classes that connected with, I think he's like a marine biologist, and he's in an underwater lab, and he does his Skype virtual field trip from there. And the questions the kids were asking were really intelligent and insightful. They were asking things like, how come the water that you can dive into and go out into is not like flooding your whole lab, and asking them different things like that. And you can see in the background there's like fish in the window behind him and sharks going by and all kinds of great stuff like that. So I mean, there's no way you would ever be able to connect and be able to interact with somebody like that in that environment in quite the same way. So that was one of the Skype virtual field trips that you can definitely take a look at.
Yeah, and I've seen that video, and the looks on the kids' faces are just priceless. I mean, you can just see the awe and wonder of it all. It's the sweetest thing. I love it. But we talked then a little bit about, 360-degree video is the coolest thing right now. And what if we could create or view other things that are not just like on a YouTube video or whatever, or even a Skype field trip, but was 360-degree video. What do you got?
Yeah, so you're talking like the Google Cardboard viewers and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Google Cardboard is a really very simple piece of technology. I don't know if I'd say technology. It's basically just folded piece of cardboard with 2 lenses in it. And
hey, that's technology. Anything that helps you do something better is technology.
Yeah, thank you, Julie King.
You're welcome.
It was just like it's like a pair of binoculars that you hold up to your eyes, and you put your smartphone in the back of this Google Cardboard viewer, and there's a number of apps you can use that will take you on a virtual tour of different places. So we looked at
Discovery VR.
Yeah, Discovery VR. They have a lot of their TV shows that they've taken like clips out of some of their educational shows, and then you can watch the show it's almost like an IMAX type of environment. Have you been to an IMAX movie? Yeah. Where it's just everywhere all around you. You can just follow the action and look anywhere, up, down, left, right, and see what's going on at that time. Yeah.
And I don't know if you mentioned too, just Google Cardboard itself has an app called the Google Cardboard Viewer, right? Is that the name of the app?
Yeah, it's just Google Cardboard.
Just Google Cardboard,
I think so, yeah.
And then also this last Christmas, we came across ViewMaster that you can put your smartphone in.
That was kind of fun. I almost think it's like the Google Cardboard, but it's a little bit more immersive because I think like the fit is a bit better and it blocks out more light and stuff like that. But you can use Google Cardboard apps in that, but they also have their own dedicated apps as well.
Well, you know what I love about the ViewMaster, right?
Tell us what you love about the ViewMaster, Mindy.
Well, okay, so Google Cardboard, right? If everybody is sharing that Google Cardboard, you can't really like wipe it down. Like you can't clean it. And like if you look at the Google, like you can't wipe it down, right? So the ViewMaster though is like this hard plastic. It's like the old school ViewMaster. And so you can Clorox that. I mean, you can wipe that puppy down, get the germs off.
You know, it was kind of funny. We were talking to one of the coaches at Linmar School District, and they said they have some Google Cardboards, and they put like a sheet of Post-it notes inside the cardboard. Did you hear that?
Right. Yeah, I did hear that.
So that when the kids are like holding it up and moving it around, and they've looked at it, then you just peel off the Post-it note, and then the next kid is like a little refresh and clean again, or clean-ish.
It's a little greasy. The other thing I saw too is that people duct tape them. So you duct tape the whole thing, at least the front part of it, so you could wipe that part down. I don't know.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, and one of my tech nuggets for the other shows was the virtual presentation app. Do you remember that? That was
Yeah,
a good
I do
cardboard
remember
app
that.
too. So
Yeah,
we
that's
could
just
have talked about that.
Yeah, that was one of our later episodes. Yeah. But ViewMaster itself, did you mention that has their own apps too?
Mention them, didn't talk about what they were. So do you want to talk about any of those?
There's like a solar system one, is that right? And like an Egyptian one, maybe. I don't know if I could talk too much about what ones there are, but it works the same way as Discovery VR. Although Discovery VR is a pretty hefty app. Wouldn't you agree? Like you need some serious memory.
Some of these cardboard apps are on the large side, but
yeah,
the thing that amuses me about the ViewMaster is, Mindy and I as kids, and probably some of you as well, remember the ViewMasters that you put the disc in and then you pulled the button and it went and rotated around to the next picture and so forth. Even the new virtual reality ViewMasters come with like a little disc, but it's more like a QR type of deal where you point your device at it and it recognizes the discs associated with a certain tour and then it takes you off on that thing. So that was kind of fun too.
Yeah, ViewMaster really impressed me this last winter. That was pretty cool. But we also have been talking a little bit about making our own 360-degree video.
Yes, we have. Because
we've been really into that lately. Yeah.
Yeah, we got one of those 360-degree cameras. It's the Ricoh Theta S camera, which is I
think it's Ricoh Theta.
Theta? Really?
I think it's Theta.
Okay, the Ricoh camera is really very awesome. And it's got two lenses on it. A normal camera would just have one lens, but it's about the size of...
like a remote control.
It's about the size of a remote control.
Yeah.
And on each side, there is a lens. So there's one in the front and one in the back. And the one in the front is like, I think it's a 190-degree spherical lens. So it captures like a semi-spherical image on one side. And then on the other side, it does exactly the same. And the software stitches it together to make like a full 360-degree experience. So it shoots pictures and videos. And we've had some fun with that.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah, it's so simple too. Like it's just it's just a click. To me, it seems like it should be, because it used to be, if you wanted a 360-degree, what you had to do is just like take lots of pictures and go around in a circle, and
and stitch them all together in some software later or something.
Yeah. And then you still didn't get the above and, the ground too. You didn't get the sky and the ground then, but yeah. So simple.
And there's a lot of these videos that are online now, like YouTube and Facebook support 360-degree videos. So that, even if you aren't taking them yourselves, you can experience some of these. There's a whole bunch of fun ones like roller coasters. And I keep talking about the one with the Blue Angels formation flying team. And it just gives you a completely different perspective on things. If you view any of these videos on a mobile device using the YouTube app or the Facebook app, you can literally like move your phone or your iPad or your tablet around in the air, and because it's got that built-in gyroscope, you can physically move around different parts of the scene. So it's kind of an amazing experience, I think, and it's just ripe for somebody really to take advantage of it in the education sphere, and I'm looking forward to see what people do with that.
Yeah. Well, and you know how I like free stuff. So then we found the Bubbly app, which is for iOS devices only, which is kind of a bummer. But so you can, with your phone, make 360-degree video. Oh, I did make it with my phone, yes. But you can do it with the iPad too. And it takes a little bit of a knack because it's kind of like painting a wall. So you turn the app on and you record and you just very slowly kind of run it down and then over your head, and it shows up kind of like it's painting a white canvas with the picture that's around you. Does that make sense? I don't know how else to describe it. Do you have a better way?
No, I think that's about the best way I could think of describing it. I mean, it's definitely a slower experience. If you have those 360-degree cameras, you press the button, click, it's done. With the Bubbly app, you have to like move your arms up and down like you're virtually painting the wall onto your device, and it records all that, stitches it together, and gives you like a 360-degree image. So it's images only, not video. But
right, I think I said video. You're right. It's image.
Yeah, but it's a great app for free. I saw recently that ThingLink were experimenting with VR stuff too. I think we talked about that briefly on another episode too. But
yeah, we did. I signed up for the beta testing, but I got an email back from them wanting to know how we would be using it, and I said in education, I haven't heard anything back. So I don't know.
Yeah, they have an app out right now. I think it's $4.99, where they have some built-in VR type experiences that you can try, and it works in Google Cardboard and the Viewmaster and things like that, but it doesn't give you the ability to create any of these tours or adventures. These are just ones that are already built into the app. So hopefully we'll see more from ThingLink on that front in the near future.
Yeah, but we did find round.me, which allows you to put interactive hotspots into your image.
Yes, we did.
And we played with that, and that worked pretty well. I don't remember the things you could put in it, though, right? Like you can put a link in, right? And
you can add pictures. You can add a link. You can add text. I believe you can even put some kind of background audio on there too.
Oh, yeah, right.
So if you upload your image onto there, and then you can have background audio, because I think that's maybe one of those things that will help take this to the next level, that you're not just scanning around a scene. You've got audio coming through your ears at the same time that you would hear if you were actually in that place, and it helps add to that immersive experience on there. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, it was just like a point and click too, right? It was pretty easy. And then I think you can even embed that image like in a website.
Yes, you can. Yep, you can embed it in different places, link to it. And the Ricoh site also has the ability to do that if you send your images there too. So lots of exciting and fun things going on with virtual presence and virtual classrooms. We will put links to all of those different resources in our show notes for this episode.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our show. My favorite part, tech nuggets. And I'm going first today.
Go for it, Mindy. I look forward to hearing what you've got to share with us.
Okay, well, this is actually something you and I both did. We got a new toy in the mail the other day. And
yeah, I know where you're going with this.
So Jonathan and I were doing some work, and I said, I need a break. I need a brain break. So we got out this thing called Blaxels. And I think actually it's called Blaxels Builder, maybe is the actually correct name. But if you haven't taken a look at this, it's kind of interesting. So it gives you this like board that has all these little squares in it. And then it also comes with all these little different colored cubes. And what you do is you take the colored cubes and you create a video game scene by putting those colored cubes in different spots on the big square frame. After you've kind of created it, so like when I did it, I was thinking like Super Mario Brothers in my head. So I just did like these different things that you could hop from. And then each color means something different. So some of them are coins and some of them are like, I think there was like a power up, and some of them are enemies. So you can kind of put those different colors in different places. And then with the Blaxels app, you take a picture of your frame that you've created, and then it digitizes it. And then you choose your character, and then you can play the game that you've created. How did I do describing that?
Yeah, you did pretty well. I mean, I think of that board, and I'm looking at it again now on the website.
Oh, you are? Yeah.
It reminds me a bit of like the old school battleships kind of boards where you would put your pins in and things like that. It looks like that kind of deal. It's an interesting combination of the physical media and the digital media together. So it's kind of a kinesthetic type activity, and then you scan it into the app and you take that element, incorporate that into your game. So
yeah, and it could be really intense, we decided. Like it took us a while to figure out how it worked. We don't read directions really though. So, I mean, we just kind of jump in and start playing, but it could be really intense. So if you had somebody or a child who was really into it, it could really become something special because they could build each scene to a game. And I mean, I don't know if it's infinite number of scenes, but you could put quite a few in there.
This could be an option for that kind of thing. You can create a game and you can share it with the world if you want, and other people can play it. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. It definitely challenged us for half an hour while we messed around with it for sure.
Yeah, it kept us going for that day.
Yeah, check it out.
All right, so my tech nugget is, I don't think this is necessarily a new app that's out there, but it's one that I only came across recently. I heard about it from Sue Gorman on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, she's a good one.
She is a great one to follow on Twitter, especially if you're into Apple products. But it's called Superimpose, and I think it's available for iPad and iPhone, but I have it on the iPad for sure. It's an app that lets you put one picture on top of another picture and remove the background on one of them. So if you can imagine a background picture and then a foreground picture, maybe you've got yourself in a room somewhere. It takes out the room and just puts yourself so that you could put yourself sitting, instead of sitting on a chair in an office, you could be sitting on a chair in the moon. So you can just erase the background out of yourself, kind of like in a green screen type of effect.
So is this getting rid of green screen?
But without the green screen, yeah. So you can do stuff like this in Photoshop, and you can merge and put things together, but it's kind of complicated, and not everybody has access to Photoshop, but it's got a whole set of what are called masking tools that will let you mask out parts of the image that you do not want to have. So you can mask out the background. You can just take the head of one thing and put the head on a different body, or different things like that. So you can imagine the fun you could have with that, Mindy. It's only 99 cents, I believe, from the App Store. So it's worth a look. It lets you do some very creative, fun, and interesting things. It's called Superimpose.
Yeah, I want to take a look at that one for sure.
I'm looking here at some of the options. You can blur the background. You can add a drop shadow. You can add text. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to how these things work, but they even have simple things like a magic wand. That, you know how you always get these clip art pictures that have got like a white background? Well, you can take the magic wand and click on the white, and all the white disappears. So,
I'm gonna have to take a look at that for sure.
You should, yeah.
I will.
Some graphic design work on there at your fingertips on the iPad.
So can you save it to your camera roll? Did you say that already?
Yeah, you can save it to your camera roll and share it out wherever you want to put it.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.
All right, so it takes us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe in a podcast player of your choice and leave us a review on iTunes. We love doing this podcast, but we want to make this as relevant as we can for you, the listeners of the show, so we appreciate any feedback, suggestions, or ideas that you have for us. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. I am at Jonathan Wiley, and Mindy, you are...
at Team Carney.
You can also use the hashtag EdTechTO to tag the show, and we will keep an eye on that. You can also send us an email to podcast@gwaea.org. So, until next time.
This has been the EdTech Takeout. We hope it hit the spot.
For more information on today's episode, please visit dlgwaea.org/podcast.